Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a really significant and frankly disturbing situation. The extensive allegations against Sean Combs.
Yeah, and it's sparked this crucial broader discussion, hasn't it?
Hmm.
Especially highlighted by music exec Ty Glorious about power dynamics, consent, really heavy stuff in the
Yeah,
music industry.
absolutely. It's pivotal and there's just so much information swirling around. It can feel, well, overwhelming.
Totally. So our goal today is to try and synthesize that for you, give you some clarity amidst all the, complexity.
Exactly. So to do that, we've gathered a range of key sources. We'll be looking at insights from an NPR interview with Kai Stiklorius. Her take on the industry culture is, well, vital.
hmm And we're diving into the legal documents too, really stark details of the civil cases from Cassandra Ventura and the plaintiff known as John Doe.
Right. Plus, we've got reporting from BBC News and Forbes, tracking the legal side, the developments there.
And Wikipedia's summary of the allegations gives a broad overview, and then there's the sheer gravity of that federal indictment against Combs.
So our mission for you listening is to pull all these threads together, give you a clear picture of the accusations, the legal landscape, and these deeper systemic issues that have really come into sharp focus.
Yeah, we want to be thorough, but not just drown you in information. Make it manageable.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with Tice DeClorius, seems right. Her voice has been, well, pretty resonant in all this.
Definitely. I mean, through her New York Times op-ed and that NPR interview, she's directly calling out what she sees as this deeply toxic culture, pretty much pervasive in the music industry, she argues.
And she's really emphasizing how those power imbalances, they can just so easily lead to exploitation.
Easily and, according to her, frequently.
Yeah, and it's not just like an abstract thing for her, is that she actually shared a personal story from when she was younger.
That's right, yeah. Early 20s at a party, Combs hosted. She talks about being lured into a room on a yacht by one of his associates.
Wow.
Yeah, and the guy locked the door. Now, thankfully, she says she managed to get out of there, but even then, she saw it as like a sign, indicative of this broader, really troubling undercurrent in the industry.
Yeah. And the thing that really jumped out at me from her interview was what she said about NDAs, non-disclosure agreements.
Oh, absolutely. Her take on NDAs is, well, it's really insightful, isn't it?
Yeah.
She basically argues that for lots of people facing abuse or exploitation, signing these things, giving up their right to speak out, it becomes about survival. That's the word she used.
Survival.
Just to get basic rights.
Yeah, exactly. The price you pay maybe for things like owning your own music or just getting fair pay. And her point is crucial, that silence, often bought with an NDA, it shouldn't be mistaken for consent.
Right. Or that it reflects the actual truth of what happened. Precisely. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How these agreements might just end up protecting powerful people and keeping this cycle of silence going, not just in music, but, everywhere.
And she seems pretty convinced this isn't just about one guy.
No, not at all. She's adamant it's bigger than that. It's systemic, she says. A system that's allowed this kind of abuse to just, well, fester for decades,
Yeah.
enabling certain figures to operate with total impunity, as she put it.
She even used that casting couch analogy, but for recording studios.
Yeah, and if you think about power dynamics in creative fields generally, that analogy is pretty powerful. The idea that those in control of these spaces, historically anyway, have often used that power exploitatively.
Especially over artists who are just starting out desperate for a shot.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
really highlights the vulnerability built into those kinds of hierarchies.
And it wasn't just things she heard about. She had her own unsettling experiences early on.
Yeah, she did. She mentioned a few times earlier in her career being at these business dinners, supposedly professional, right?
Right.
And at the end, someone would just like slip a hotel key card into her hand.
Wow. So blatant.
Yeah, those kinds of, unwanted advances.
Yeah.
It actually led her to leave the music industry for a while.
That's pretty sobering. And it sounds like her speaking out really struck a chord with others.
It really did. She said she was surprised, actually, by how many women still working in the industry, some in positions of influence, reached out after her NYT piece.
Sharing similar stories.
Yeah, similar stories they never told anyone because of that fear, right? The
Yeah.
fear of retaliation if you speak out against someone powerful. It's deeply ingrained, it seems.
And that final point she made about accountability, or the lack of it historically, that was pretty stark.
It really brings up a critical question, doesn't it? About consequences,
Yeah.
or the lack thereof.
Oh.
You could hear the frustration in her voice, pointing out how long it took for figures like R. Kelly, and now maybe Sean Combs, to face any real accountability.
Yeah. She sees it as a symptom of a system where maybe just not enough people were willing to stand up and say, hey, this isn't okay. We need a better standard. And she's basically saying that needs to change urgently.
Okay, let's shift gears now and get into the specifics of the allegations themselves. That civil lawsuit from Cassie Ventura, November 2023, it paints a really disturbing picture. I mean, the document itself had a trigger warning.
Yeah, and that trigger warning is significant. Tells you right away this contains highly graphic stuff, sexual assault allegations, very serious ones. And the lawsuit, well, it lays out what she describes as a decade of horrific abuse, allegedly by Combs.
And the list of things she alleges, it's just staggering, the scope, the severity.
It really is. I mean, the lawsuit alleges rape, repeated physical abuse, punching, beating, kicking, even stomping.
God.
Yeah, and forced participation in sex acts with male sex workers, while Combs allegedly watched, filmed,
Oh, my God.
being forced to carry his gun, being introduced to heavy substance abuse. I mean, these are incredibly serious allegations. And the power dynamic you mentioned earlier, that seems absolutely central here.
It's critical context, absolutely. She met him in 2005. She was 19. He was 37.
Big age gap, already a power difference.
Right. And then he signs her to Bad Boy Records. Immediately, there's this huge inherent imbalance. The lawsuit says he exerted, like, almost total control. Personal life, professional life, demanding obedience, loyalty, and, crucially, silence about his alleged behavior.
And it wasn't just behind closed doors, apparently. The lawsuit says other people saw things.
Yeah, the complaint alleges that sometimes this abuse happened in front of his staff, employees from his companies, but it claims nobody dared step in.
Why not?
Fear, just pervasive fear of Combs, of retaliation. And there's this pattern described too, really disturbing. After a violent incident, he'd allegedly shower her with gifts, apologies.
Ah, that classic cycle of abuse pattern.
Exactly, often seen in these kinds of dynamics.
The lawsuit then details some really specific, harrowing incidents. It's quite detailed.
It is. The level of detail is significant. It talks about alleged forcible kissing at her 21st birthday in Vegas, an instance of forced intercourse during a trip after she felt she had to go with him because she was worried about her album deal.
Oh, the pressure.
And there's this chilling story about him allegedly grabbing guns, going after Suge Knight, his rival, and making her hold his weapon during.
Making her hold the gun, that's terrifying.
Right, and the physical violence allegations, they allegedly just continued.
So multiple instances described.
Yeah, hiding her in hotels so bruises could heal. One alleged beating happened in an Escalade after a party Jay-Z was at.
After a party with Jay-Z.
That's what the suit alleges. It also details him allegedly stomping on her face in a car because she talked to another music manager. Another time, a severe beating, and he allegedly made his staff take her to a hotel to recover.
Just awful.
She apparently even compared their relationship to Ike and Tina, which tells you a lot, doesn't it? A notorious example of severe abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, these allegations about sex trafficking, the FOs, that's particularly disturbing, raises very serious questions.
It's incredibly troubling and legally very significant. The lawsuit details forced participation in these FOs, described as orchestrated sexual encounters with male sex workers.
Happening where?
Allegedly at various hotels, New York, L.A., and the suit claims she was repeatedly coerced into these things.
And how did he allegedly, ensure she participated?
According to the lawsuit, it was a mix of things. Control, intimidation, manipulation. It even describes him allegedly giving her lavish gifts right before or during these encounters.
Like a bribe, almost, or acknowledging the coercion.
It suggests an awareness, perhaps, yeah. And there's one particularly shocking allegation. Combs, apparently heavily intoxicated after an FO, allegedly dangled one of her friends over a 17th floor balcony.
What? That's insane.
Just incredibly dangerous and frightening, if true.
And even when she tried to get away from him, the lawsuit says it was hard.
Extremely difficult, it alleges. Anytime she tried to create distance, he allegedly used his whole network employees, associates, to find her, lure her back into that alleged cycle of abuse and control.
It also mentions his reaction to her relationship with Kid Cudi.
Yeah, that's another really disturbing part. When he found out she'd briefly dated Kid Cudi, the suit alleges he got enraged, held a corkscrew to her forehead.
Corkscrew?
Yeah, threatened her. And later, allegedly threatened to blow up Kid Cudi's car. And the suit claims he actually followed through, had it bombed during Paris Fashion Week in 2012.
That's extreme. Shows the level of alleged control, possessiveness.
Absolutely. And that control apparently extended even to how she looked in public.
How so?
There's an incident described from 2015. She was allegedly forced to put on makeup to hide bruises on Combs' orders, even though other people apparently knew what was going on.
Wow. Controlling the narrative, even visually.
And threats against an actor she had like a brief flirtation with, just constant alleged control.
And then there's that claim about security footage from a hotel.
Right. The Intercontinental Century City. The lawsuit alleges Combs paid them $50,000 for hallway security footage from 2016.
Footage of what?
Footage that allegedly showed him physically assaulting her, throwing glass at her, suggests alleged attempts to suppress evidence, control the story.
The final alleged incident in the lawsuit. The rape. That seems like it was the breaking point.
It's described that way, yes. In 2017 or 2018, the lawsuit states he allegedly forced his way into her apartment and raped her. A horrific allegation described as the catalyst that finally led her to break away completely.
It's important for people to understand the legal basis here. How was she able to bring this suit forward potentially years later?
Good question. She filed under several laws: federal sex trafficking laws, state human rights laws in New York and California, the Gender-Motivated Violence Act, but critically, also under New York's Adult Survivors Act and California's Sexual Abuse and Cover-Up Accountability Act.
And those acts changed things.
They did. They temporarily opened up or extended the window, the statute of limitations for civil claims of sexual assault and abuse, gave survivors more time to seek justice. The lawsuit details the immense emotional, psychological harm she allegedly suffered, needing significant therapy and care. And the firm representing her is Wigdor LLP.
Okay, then fast forward to October 2024. Another major civil suit surfaces, this one from John Doe.
Right. And this lawsuit brings forward more extremely serious allegations, claiming Combs routinely recruited people to parties, drugged them, and then sexually exploited them.
With help.
Allegedly with the knowledge and assistance of, numerous other people and related companies.
And this suit also really emphasizes the role of his businesses in all this.
Yes, very strongly. It argues that Combs' business empire was actually central to the alleged abuse over decades, claims this persistent, widespread pattern of abuse against women, men, even minors.
Including these orchestrated sex performances again.
Yeah, involving commercial sex workers, but also, allegedly, unsuspecting partygoers. And it details the methods allegedly used to ensure participation.
What methods?
Reportedly getting and distributing drugs, especially GHB, often hidden in drinks.
The date rape drug.
Exactly. Also controlling careers, using financial leverage, and, of course, intimidation and violence. The physical abuse allegations in this suit apparently go way back to at least 1996.
And this lawsuit actually references the other cases and the federal indictment.
It does. It specifically mentions Cassie Ventura's suit, Don Richards, and crucially, that September 2024 federal grand jury indictment, charging him with sex trafficking, racketeering, running a criminal enterprise. The John Doe suit also claims his alleged actions were gender-motivated, showing contempt for women, a desire to dominate.
Can you walk us through what John Doe himself alleges happened to him?
So John Doe describes being at a party around October 2021. He'd been picked up from the airport by people from Combs' businesses. He says he was offered ecstasy, declined it, but then after just one drink, he became immediately incapacitated.
Which fits the pattern of alleged drugging mentioned earlier.
Exactly what the lawsuit suggests. He says he woke up paralyzed in a bedroom, being sexually assaulted by multiple men, and he recalls seeing Combs naked above him during the assault.
Just horrifying. And what laws is this suit brought under?
It's under the Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act, plus claims of assault, battery, rape, criminal sexual act, aggravated sexual abuse. And there's a disturbing detail mentioned. A photo exists, apparently, of a specific container allegedly used to sneak GHB into drinks. The lawyers are from the Busby Law Firm, AVA Law Group, and Curis Law.
Okay, let's turn to the legal proceedings themselves. What have BBC News and Forbes reported on developments there?
Their reporting gives us some key updates, like Cassie Ventura testifying for 4 days in the criminal trial, facing intense questioning, reportedly, about those alleged freak-off sessions.
And how'd she respond?
Importantly, she reportedly denied it was about money. Said she'd give back the $20 million settlement if it could undo those experiences. She testified she was coerced, threatened with violence, into participating in those sessions with male escorts.
So that settlement amount, $20 million, that was confirmed?
Yes, both outlets reported that amount.
Oh.
And it was reached incredibly fast, right? Just 1 day after her lawsuit was filed back in November 2023.
That is fast.
Yeah. And it was reported Combs' lawyers tried to paint her as an eager participant, using text messages between them. Shows you the defense strategy.
There was also mention of another potential settlement for her, related to that hotel incident.
That's right. She's reportedly expecting another $10 million, this time from the Intercontinental Hotels Group, related to that 2016 alleged hallway assault, the one where there's supposedly security footage. Highlights potential liability for others, doesn't it?
It does. And Dawn Richard from Danity Kane, she testified too.
Yes, and her testimony reportedly backed up some of Ventura's claims. She said she personally saw Combs assault Ventura at his L.A. mansion back in 2009.
She witnessed it.
That's what she testified, yes, and said Combs intimidated her to keep quiet about it. Corroborating testimony like that can be really significant.
The reporting also mentioned evidence seized from Combs's hotel room.
Yeah, a Homeland Security agent, Yasin Binda, testified about finding significant cash, drugs, and interestingly, a lot of baby oil in Combs' hotel room when he was arrested in New York. Those items will likely be scrutinized in the trial.
And do we have a timeline for the trial itself, the federal sex trafficking trial?
Looks like jury selection started May 5th, 2025. Prosecutors apparently plan to give all their evidence to the defense by the end of 2024. So they're gearing up for that May trial date. Seems like there's a lot of evidence.
There were also some observations about Combs' appearance in court.
Yeah, minor detail maybe, but a court reporter mentioned he looked thinner and grayer in a December 2024 hearing. Also notable, Maureen Comey joined the prosecution team.
Maureen Comey, wasn't she involved in the Ghislaine Maxwell case?
Exactly. Known for handling complex sex crime cases. Her joining the team definitely signals how seriously the government is taking this.
Okay, let's broaden out again. Look at the info compiled by Wikipedia gives a wider view of other allegations that have surfaced over time.
Yeah, and Wikipedia's summary really paints a picture of just the sheer volume here. After Ventura's suit in late 2023, 3 other women came forward around the same time.
Right.
Since then, it lists numerous civil suits alleging sexual abuse spanning a huge time frame, like 1990 to 2009, and indicated more were planned as of October 2024. The number of accusers, the decades involved. It's striking.
And we saw several individuals file publicly after that first wave.
Exactly. Wikipedia mentions Rodney Jones in February 2024, accusing Combs of sexual assault. Then later in 2024, Crystal McKinney, April Lampros, Dawn Richard again with her own suit, Thalia Graves, a Jane Doe, all alleging drugging, assault, misconduct. It's been a steady stream.
The numbers being reported, potential accusers. It's quite alarming. Really makes you wonder about the environment he allegedly created.
It really does. Reports came out in October 2024 about lawyers planning to file potentially 122 more suits against Combs and related people or companies. One lawyer, Andrew Van Arsdale, said they'd heard from around 3,000 people with allegations and were vetting maybe another 100 cases. I mean, those numbers are just staggering, if true.
Of course, his legal team has responded.
Yes. Erica Wolf, from his defense team, stated publicly that Mr. Combs looks forward to proving his innocence, setting the stage for a long, complex legal fight.
There have also been developments with some specific suits. One was dropped.
Yes, that particularly disturbing one from December 2024, accusing Combs and Jay-Z of raping a 13-year-old back in 2000. That suit was dropped in February 2025.
But others were filed around the same time.
Right. 3 men filed separate suits alleging rape and sexual assault by Combs. A former male employee alleged sexual battery. Then in January 2025, a woman sued, claiming Combs assaulted her when she was a 16-year-old babysitter. By then, reports said over 40 lawsuits had been filed against him.
And the criminal case moved forward with his arrest.
It did. Homeland Security investigators arrested him in September 2024, following that grand jury indictment. He pleaded not guilty to the federal charges, sex trafficking, racketeering.
And he was denied bail.
Yes, multiple times. Mainly due to prosecution concerns about potential witness tampering, intimidation. Highlights the seriousness, the perceived risks.
These allegations have clearly had a huge cultural impact way beyond the courtroom.
Oh, absolutely. You see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Keisha changing her TikTok lyrics live on stage, referencing Combs.
Right, I saw that.
Brands dropping in Macy's, his own company, Revolt Media. The Recording Academy is evaluating his Grammy invite. Howard University revoked his honorary degree, returned a $2 million gift.
And the key to New York City.
Returned it after the mayor asked, "Diddy Day in Miami Beach gone," so radio stations stopped playing his music.
Oh.
And there are multiple documentaries either out or being made about all this. It's a massive cultural reckoning.
Okay, finally, let's drill down into that federal indictment from September 2024. the weight of it.
Yeah, the federal indictment is heavy. It formally charges him with racketeering conspiracy, alleges this decades-long pattern, abuse, threats, coercion, all aimed, it says, at fulfilling his sexual desires, protecting his reputation, and covering up his alleged crimes.
And it specifically names his businesses as part of this.
Yes, the Combs business, Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, Combs Global. It alleges these were central to the criminal enterprise,
Yeah.
used to facilitate and hide the illegal activities, according to the indictment.
It goes into detail again about this persistent pattern of abuse, especially those freak-offs.
It does, alleging a pervasive pattern manipulating women into these freak-offs with sex workers, often involving travel, interstate, international, and distributing drugs to ensure compliance. The indictment also mentions recurrent, widely known physical abuse by Combs.
And suggesting his own employees were actively involved.
Explicitly alleged he used his employees to carry out, facilitate, and cover up the abuse and commercial sex. Describes the freak-offs as elaborate, orchestrated performances he arranged, directed, often filmed.
Using the recordings for control.
That's the allegation.
Yeah.
Using them to maintain control over victims. And distributing drugs during them was another alleged tactic for compliance.
The searches of his homes turned up evidence mentioned in the indictment.
Yes. Those March 2024 searches reportedly found narcotics and, over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant at his Miami and LA homes. The indictment calls these freak-off supplies, linking them to the alleged sex trafficking.
It also lays out the methods he allegedly used to control victims over long periods.
A whole range of alleged methods.
Yeah.
Physical violence, threats, promises of career help in the industry, financial manipulation, tracking people's locations, dictating how they looked, acted, even monitoring medical records, controlling housing, supplying drugs.
And threats weren't just aimed at victims.
No, the indictment alleges threats and violence against employees, potential witnesses, anyone seen as a threat to his authority or secrets.
And attempts to actively silence people.
Deliberate attempts alleged, yes. Pressuring victims, witnesses, to stay quiet. Using bribes, spreading false stories, even mentions recorded phone calls intended to intimidate people, stop them cooperating or speaking out.
That racketeering charge sounds incredibly broad, covers a lot of ground.
It really does. The alleged predicate acts include kidnapping, arson, bribery, witness tampering, forced labor, sex trafficking, transportation for prostitution, drug offenses, a whole list. On top of that overarching conspiracy charge, he's specifically charged with sex trafficking, victim 1 by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation for prostitution.
And the government is seeking forfeiture.
Yes, they're trying to seize a wide range of his assets believed to be linked to the alleged crimes. The indictment was signed by Damian Williams, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we've really navigated through this incredibly complex, deeply concerning web of allegations and legal actions against Sean Combs. We've heard Tice DeClorius' broader view on the industry culture.
And looked at those stark, disturbing details in the civil suits.
Yeah.
And now this incredibly weighty federal indictment.
Yeah, it's a situation that's undeniably forced a spotlight onto these critical systemic issues, hasn't it? Power dynamics, consent, the role of NDAs, not just in music, but, potentially everywhere.
Absolutely. Big questions being raised.
And on that, sobering note, here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Given just how extensive and how disturbing these allegations are, and with these complex legal proceedings still unfolding, what does this whole situation tell us about accountability, really? And what are the profound challenges victims still face when they try to come forward, when they try to seek justice? Not just in the music world, but really in any field where these kinds of power imbalances exist.